paper Legitimacy, Sexuality and the Pursuit of Power in
I wrote a paper called Kurus Are Contemporaries. The issues that are raised in Mahabharata are of perennial significance and they replay themselves out. Different ages, different generations. Also, I find that what is fascinating about Mahabharata is that there is no black and white. Everything is grey. And I guess that is why it was said in our tradition that you should never read the Mahabharata and you shouldn't keep it in your house because it leads to quarrels. And I started to think, why does it lead to quarrels? I think it need not lead to quarrels. Of course, it's a book of war, fratricidal war for power, for the throne. But it need not lead to quarrels if you read it in a way that you understand. You don't harbor illusions about people. But then a division is arrived at between chaste women and unchaste women, which is really the sexuality of women. And the unchaste women in Mahabharata are those who have unbridled sexuality. And the chaste women are those whose sexuality is controlled by the men, because there is no woman there who is actually faithful to one man, except maybe Gandhari. And I have a huge question mark on Gandhari also. So anyway, apart from Gandhari, there isn't and there is certainly no man who's faithful to one woman. So what is this chastity? It is being controlled by men. And you see this in this whole thing of Niyog. Niyog is a practice which is to get a son so that you can have a varis, an inheritor for your property. So the husband himself will call in somebody, invite someone to have a relationship with his wife. Dhritarashtra is the elder son, whom you said he can't now sit on the throne of Hastinapur because he is blind. But then Pandu died and he ended up sitting on the throne of Hastinapur anyway. Right? And the other thing is that Dhritarashtra's claim may be taken away because he is blind, but that doesn't say that his eldest son's claim is not there to the throne. So you can make out a very good case for Duryodhan actually being the inheritor, the legitimate inheritor to the throne of Hastinapur. And Kunti knows that. That's why she wants to have that perpetual presence. That is why the constant quarrel between the two sides of the family, even as they are children. That is why the constant attempts of Duryodhan to get rid of them. Kunti is a smart woman. When they want to go to Varnavrat, she goes with them. Now she is the one who binds these five and who can egg them on. And throughout the text, you see her egging them on to war when their claim is denied. She goes to Varnavrat. Now, whether she engineers it or fate decides this, when she has that feast, and that Nishad woman arrives with her 5 sons. That's the night they decide to burn the place and escape. And Duryodhan thinks that Kunti and the 5 children have perished, and he actually performs the ceremonies of the dead, rites of the dead, only to find they've been roaming around disguised in the forest, and then they emerge at the Swayamvar of Draupadi. Now there's a whole debate on whether Kunti knew that Draupadi, that they had brought Draupadi home, and when she said that share whatever you've got. My hypothesis is that Kunti knew absolutely what she was doing. It was not an inadvertent remark at all. She is the queen. She is the one that holds all these 5 Pandavas together. She is the one who debates them openly. She talks everywhere independently. She is very good at even debating Yudhishthir and points of when to act, what is the significance of action. And it is because of this, I think, because of her independence, and because she is not dependent on her status also on anybody, that she is constantly attacked. the number of attempts made to molest her. At least there are 3 or 4 that stand out. Kichak stands out, Jayadratha stands out, of course the open court stands out. There are a couple of minor other events. Why is that? That is simply because that's the easiest way to silence a woman. After all, what is rape? It is not a pleasurable sexual act, isn't it? It's an attempt of power, domination, crushing somebody's self-esteem to the point where that person cannot raise her head again. If I were to say Draupadi as a role model, I would say that yes, you have to struggle the same way that she struggled. Independent, confident of yourself, well educated, aware of the world, aware of your rights, and yet able to hold everyone together. Now, it's interesting that if you see Draupadi in the Tamil Nadu region, where you have Draupadi temples, and they are not like monuments, they are actual temples. Draupadi is seen as the protector of the Dalits, of the downtrodden. She is also known as the virgin queen. Now, a woman with 5 husbands is known as a virgin queen. Why? Because she is that virginity of the mind, the independence of the mind, not to be subjugated by anybody. You know, to have everything, all these people, but yet to keep your self-worth and self-esteem.